I don't know that you've ever like shared that on a podcast, and I don't know. It's just thank you for being so vulnerable.
Well, I actually think I brought it up quite a few times. I'm still not over it. Well. We are so excited to be joined today by Aly Bullock. Aly Bullock is a licensed marriage and family therapist, the head of relationships at the #1 couples app Paired that has helped 4 million couples globally stay in love, and she's the creator of Relationships with Aly, her popular social presence with over 300,000 followers across platforms. Aly is also a proud wife to her husband Sean and mom of 3 kids, so she's practicing what she preaches every day. You guys, I really wanted to bring Aly on because I feel like you share so much wisdom for people who are in the trenches of actual, like, everyday monogamy, marriage, relationships.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're fed so much advice for dating.
Totally.
And so much advice for like how to get the guy, how to get him to commit. But what do we do when we got the ring on our finger, and it's a couple years in and different problems arise?
Yes.
Right?
So many different problems.
So I feel like this episode is just going to be so valuable for all of our listeners who are in committed relationships and want to keep them thriving. And also, I think to have some wisdom as they embark on, getting married and creating a great life in partnership with someone.
Yeah, I think like it'll be so helpful for people who maybe even aren't in a serious relationship now, or, who aren't in that phase of life yet, because once you're in that phase of life, you want to maintain it. You would hope to stay married forever.
Totally.
So we're so excited to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you both so much for having me. I feel so honored. I love this podcast and I'm so excited to be here with you.
Oh, of course. Okay, so I think the best way we can serve our audience is really go through the questions they had for you.
Great.
And try to get to as many of them as possible. So let's just start off with a banger. And I think one of the most popular questions we get, which is, how do you keep the spark alive?
The #1 question.
The
that
number
I'm
one
asked
question.
always. And my favorite answer is non-toxic drama.
Okay. Oh, also, this was not what I was expecting at all. And I'm obsessed.
You have to create drama that's not toxic, meaning like you are fully in control of it. For example, maybe you make a new name and text your partner from your sexy name on a different phone number on WhatsApp.
Oh my gosh.
Or
like you role play.
Right. Role play, or you go, make out or have sex somewhere you normally would not ever do that. Like you're creating dramatic experiences that you have control over. So they're not toxic. They're not going to lead to anything that you don't want, but you're just intentionally keeping the spark alive by doing things that are sparky. I don't know. That's a weird way to say it, but.
Well, and I even interpret that as like maybe you buy yourself a new outfit, something you wouldn't typically wear. You step into a more dramatic side of yourself in order to create a new experience. Because I think so much of the frustration with keeping the spark alive is just like, I've known this person forever. We've had sex forever.
Yes.
Like, how do we do it new? How do we make it feel new and exciting? Because I love this person, but you want to continue to like feel young and alive.
Totally. And I even just someone sent me this box. It's like a fantasy box, right? And inside
of like toys or something?
Of toys. And there's like a feather duster. I've never used a feather duster before, but it was great. It was new. It was something that was different. And it was just that simple thing. Took 10 minutes, right? But once a month or once every few months, adding something new like that can make such a difference because you're not so bored anymore. Like you're not so monotonous anymore.
And like, I guess, can you speak to keeping the spark alive beyond sex?
Yes. Yeah. Do new things with your partner, right? Yeah. You are so used to them that you start to make all these assumptions about them. And so you assume what they're going to like and what they don't like. And you go out on a date and you just like have in your head how it's going to go already. And so you have to really intentionally do new things where you're going to see them in a new light. Yeah. And you're going to be able to see, oh, they've actually grown or they've changed, or I've never seen them paint before. I've never seen them XYZ before. And that helps you fall back in love with them because you're like, oh, they're interesting to me.
I think that's such an interesting unlock. Well, two unlocks. One, I want to go back to keeping the spark alive by texting them from a new name. I think that there's something interesting about being like, the messages you get on Telegram from Charlotte.
That's your name. Obsessed. So that's where you go.
Like Charlotte might be a little bit naughtier than Lauren. You know, she might have some thoughts and some desires. I'm just not responsible for the shit that comes out of Charlotte's mouth.
Totally.
And I feel like that just kind of like removes some of the internalized shame that we all feel when it comes to sex.
Yes.
I think that's a killer tip.
And when you have kids and you are stuck in these parent roles, moms just start to feel like mom. Like, I don't feel sexy anymore. But when I'm not going to tell you my name, but when I'm this person, right? I can be different. Like, I know when I see a text message from WhatsApp from my husband, that's a different message.
Yes.
I also, I don't know why this is giving me the chills. It's giving me the chills in just like a very fun, excited way. But I love that it's also WhatsApp because it's like encrypted, right? It's like, it's totally private. It's totally secure. Yes. And so that's why it's like from WhatsApp, maybe it's not on iMessage or whatever. It's not going to come through on all your iClouds where the kids are on the iPad. But I love that that's like, you just kind of create like a safe channel, a safe space to like keep the sexiness going and the sex going.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like I feel like we could do an hour on why this is such a great idea, but I like the idea that like for the person who's receiving the message, maybe they're a little stressed. They know when they get that notification and they know when to like open it, to be in the headspace to be ready to receive it. And I think sometimes like you might send something and they're not ready for it. They don't need that dropped in their iMessage.
Well, what if the message above is like, do we need to buy more chicken breasts for dinner tonight? You know, like it kills the vibe.
Yeah. And I've heard so many times, oh, my husband will only respond to the last message I sent him. Like I send XYZ million list and he only sees the last one. And so this can also be a way to mitigate that.
Yeah. I love it.
I love that. I love the idea of falling in love with the new person your husband or wife has become, because it's true. Like you fall in love when you're dating with this certain person, but then with time we all grow and evolve a lot. And I think having an awareness of like, I really want to cultivate psychologically an awareness that like I am also now so in love with this new iteration. And I just think there's something really like special about that, because like you said, it can get so easy to just get so used to someone, you know? And then when we get used to people and we get used to things, we stop like treating them like they're special.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be really, really scary for people to think that my partner is going to change. But I think if you go into the relationship with more of an open mind about change doesn't have to be a bad thing. It doesn't have to be a scary thing. What if 20 years from now, our marriage is completely different? Not in a bad way. Just because we're different people. And just knowing that from the start can help it feel less scary when it's happening.
I always like to think about, I have a lot of like internalized fears about like getting older and like what that could mean for me and my relationship. And I have really tried to change the narrative in my brain to like, no, like when we are older, we're going to have all this history and like, we're going to be these vibrant, you know, people in a different stage of our life. And like, it's actually going to be like so much better. Like, it's not going to be this thing that just gets worse, which I feel like is kind of a lesson sometimes the culture tells us.
Totally. Actually, you just reminded me of, what's the guy's name? Music Man guy.
Oh, Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
I was thinking about him this week because of what is her name?
Sutton Foster.
Thank you. Because of the Sutton Foster thing. And I was like looking up his old marriage and I'm happy for him, right? He's happy, but I was feeling sad because they had so much history.
I know. I'm team sad.
Okay.
I'm happy because love and light. I want everyone to be living their best life, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I'm a little sad because we can get it. This is not the podcast for whether or not there was cheating, but I'm a little sad.
It actually very much is not this episode.
This episode, but this podcast is the cheating. We'll uncover it.
But it's exactly right. It's the history that makes your love so much deeper and richer. And it's a beautiful thing.
Lauren and I always talk about our like Mount Rushmore of monogamy because Lauren and I are our parents have been married forever. We're very like in love with the idea and the couples that we see in popular culture who have been together forever. For example, a Tom Hanks and a Rita Wilson, a Tim McGraw and a Faith Hill, Barack and Michelle. And anyway, those are some of our like favorite couples. And we've always said like, you know, if any of them break up, like we're donezo. Like we basically
we're filing for divorce.
We should just go to divorce court immediately. Because like, I think, you know, everybody wants to believe in this idea that you can have an extremely special, meaningful marriage that can withstand to quote Fleetwood Mac, like the seasons of your life, you know, and like, and kids and change. And I think that it can be very scary to like look forward and not know what the future will hold and like not know if your marriage will withstand that.
Yeah. And you have to practice every day. There's an analogy I love, which is like, you can have a piano in your house and love music and love piano, but that doesn't mean you know how to play it. And even if you knew how to play it once, if you haven't played for 10 years, you're going to be really rusty. And it's like the same thing with a person. You can have a person in your house that you love, but if you're not practicing every day those skills of connecting with them, you're going to get rusty.
Yeah.
You're not going to be good at it anymore. And so you have to be really intentional every single day to keep that spark alive, to keep your romance.
I would love to know, like, what are some of the daily things? Is that like an open mouth kiss, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be like a physical thing, but what are the daily things that you feel like really make sure that fire is stoked?
Eye contact.
Eye contact. Okay.
Eye contact.
Actually think about it. When was the last time you looked at your partner without your phone around, without anything, and actually looked at them in the eyes for more than 20 seconds?
Probably at the altar. No, I haven't.
Right? And maybe when was that like a moment outside of sex too?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Eye contact is just so vulnerable.
Yeah.
It is so vulnerable.
Yeah.
But I think about getting home, or my husband comes home and I look up and I say, hey, look back to my phone or my computer, go to bed. We give each other a quick hug, go to sleep, right? We're not taking that time to actually look at each other. But when we do, it's like, oh, I see you today.
Yeah.
I love you. Right?
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's so beautiful. And I think it's important to realize that there are these little things. Cause again, it's like, it's not the feather duster. It's not the new name within WhatsApp. It's like these body movements that we need to be aware of. And a relationship really is something that you cultivate and develop. It's not something a great relationship. It's not something that just you luck into and happens to you.
Totally.
And then it's always just easy street from there.
Right.
And the whole reason I love Paired specifically, or couples apps like it, is because it asks you a question every day. Okay. And you answer that question. You can't see your partner's answer until you've answered.
Oh yeah. So wait, tell us about the Paired app.
Yeah,
So
I want to know.
It's essentially an app that helps couples stay in love. That's the slogan of the app.
Okay.
And it helps you stay in love by connecting with each other. So it takes less than 5 minutes a day. There's a new prompt every day that's a question. Today was, what was something you love that Sean inherited from his parents?
Oh, cool.
And so it's just a unique question that makes you think, and then he has to respond to be able to see my answer.
Yeah.
So it takes literally less than 2 minutes, and it's just like, oh, I thought about you today.
Wait, this is so wonderful.
I like this.
It's great.
I feel like tears are at the back of my throat like this. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm fresh off my bachelorette, but I love that. I love that, it's just like a moment to like check in, reflect, just like appreciate the specialness, that is like your love.
Yeah. I check my Instagram every day. Why shouldn't I spend 1 minute thinking about my relationship?
Totally. And like, I feel like I'm a person, like I love. And so the idea of an app where I can like, I don't know, do that more or like, bask in that more sounds so fun to me.
No, it's so fun.
I also think it's because there's honestly some sad questions in here.
Yeah.
And like questions like, how bad does it have to get for when you know you need to get out? And I feel like, will your partner participate in this app? And that's going to be a good indicator of their commitment. Will they spend 5 minutes instead of scrolling Instagram?
Totally.
Like, answering a question about their favorite trait that you inherited. Like, I think that is a good thing just as women or men listening to know about their partners, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, when your partner has stopped being willing to put in any effort into your relationship health, that's a good sign that things are going downhill, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I always think there's this business quote that the compression of time creates value. I think it actually might be something that Jessie, your sister, who I know and love and is one of my best friends, taught me or quoted to me. And it's just the idea that like, if you can figure out that something is not going to work, and half the time you should, because then you just save so much time and it's so valuable to kind of, unfortunately, move on if you need to sooner rather than later.
Yeah. People come to couples therapy and say, we broke up because of couples therapy. And I'm like, no, you actually were going to break up anyway.
Yeah.
It just took you far less time to get there because we finally were honest about things.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. If you're looking to get more protein in your life, and you want to do it in a gorgeous way where the taste is delicious and you actually look forward to the protein shake or the protein drink, look no further than the brand Clean Simple Eats. It's our protein Bible for pop apologists.
The Simply Vanilla literally tastes so good. It tastes like ice cream when it's blended with just water or milk. It's perfect.
Add a little peanut butter. It'll taste like the best dessert. I also, of course, everyone knows I'm obsessed with the clear protein. I have 1 to 2 cans a day. It bumps my protein up by 20 or 40 grams. It is just the easiest way to grab some extra protein from the fridge and not mess up my kitchen. Clean Simple Eats is truly the brand to go to for all of your protein needs.
Everyone, go to cleansimpleeats.com and use code POPAPOLOGIST for 10% off your order.
Cleansimpleeats.com, use code POPAPOLOGIST, grab a bag of the chocolate brownie batter protein powder, and I swear it will taste like a Wendy's Frosty. It tastes like a dessert, okay, but it's good for you. Clean, grass-fed protein.
Lauren, you know how we've been on a dead run for like the last week?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let me just tell you that thank God I had Early Bird to, help me unwind after the craziest 7 days. I took a full gummy and was able to literally knock out in the best way possible.
They're so effective at just making your brain melt away. All of a sudden, like the rush of an internal monologue, all your anxiety, all the stuff you're stressing about, it just kind of gets muted and it just kind of like mushes away and you can truly fall asleep. It's incredible.
They're simply perfect. I love taking a half if I'm going to, unwind and watch a show. A full one is maybe more when I'm just looking to, fully go to sleep. And they do a perfect job every single time.
I will say a single bottle will last me a really long time because a half does wonders. I usually only take a half. I highly recommend going to earlybirdcbd.com using code POP20 for 20% off. Okay, so I have so this next question, it's just like very simple, but I feel like we should ask it.
Yeah.
Is it even possible to be happy and healthy and passionate in a long-term relationship?
Yes.
Yes.
It's possible. It's rare. I'm not going to lie.
It's rare.
I think it's rare. I mean, think about the adults that you know who have been together more than 30 years. How many would you actually say you think are happy?
Yeah.
Or in love still?
Do you feel like though that's because, and maybe this is just some hopium I'm trying to smoke right now, but do you think that's because our generation is maybe more aware and trying to be more conscious and like therapy is so much more normalized and we're trying to work on ourselves and we're trying to actually be better. And for our parents' generation, it was like, you don't need to cry. Like you're not in the depression,
Right,
like,
yeah.
buck up and whatever.
Yeah. Like you're married. It's great.
Yes.
It's fine. Be grateful.
Like there's this, I saw this interview with Ivana Trump on Letterman, and she was saying that she didn't like how a famous person who was cheated on was always crying. Oh, I think it was Princess Diana. Yeah, she was saying she didn't like how Princess Diana was always crying because she's like, who cares if he cheats on you? You have a beautiful, like you live in a castle. You have beautiful children. Like stop crying. And I feel like
Yikes. That's a take.
Yes. Right?
Yeah, that's quite a take. And I just think that there, on some level, there was that attitude in like the previous generation, which is just kind of like, life is hard, deal with it.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I want to say, like to this question, the question is it even possible to be happy, healthy, and passionate in a long-term relationship? To me, I think it's very hard to be all three of those things at once. And so I think to your answer about how it's rare, it's rare to maybe feel all of those things at the exact same time, to have that like synergy at one point. But I do think it is possible to experience those things sort of like in rotation where it's like, okay, maybe I'm not feeling the craziest amount of passion about my partner, but I'm happy. Our life is good.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's such a good point. Such a good point. And there's a type of therapy called narrative therapy. And one of the things they talk about is sparkling moments. When you look at your journey, where's a sparkling moment you can identify? And it would be one of those where you're happy, healthy, and passionate all at the same time. And those brief moments carry you through a lot of hard times.
Yes.
And so it's possible to have all three, but it's not going to be all the time.
I think that's why like the honeymoon phase of sex is so important, because it's like knowing that you have this like sexual connection with your partner and that you had this like crazy time. I just think that kind of like is important as you get to the stages of monogamy that maybe are a little less frenetic in their ardor. I think that it just, you have it and that you can get back to those moments. I think those moments really can carry you through the more mundane times.
Well,
Absolutely.
To your point, I think like what is so intertwined is like youth and sexual vibrancy. Like and if you feel like you're losing your sexual vibrancy, it's like, is that because I'm getting older? And then there's all this fear and like, and I guess like, that's something that, I think can be really hard for people is thinking those two things are mutually exclusive.
Yes.
But
they're definitely not.
Yeah.
I remember in grad school, we had to watch a documentary about elderly sex, essentially.
Yeah.
And it was all about all the sex that's happening in these care facilities. And people are horny.
Which is great. Which is honestly fucking great news.
So great. And people say, I don't know if you've heard the best sex is in your 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
Like the more experience that you have with sex, the better it can get.
Yeah.
And so I do not want people to think, oh, just because we're getting old together means we're not going to be as passionate. It doesn't have to be that way.
It's all about like the story you tell yourself.
Yes.
Like I remember, I mean, doesn't have to do with relationships, but I was talking with a friend and I was just talking about like, unfortunately, I had this like negativity about aging. I was like, it's just all downhill from one point. And she's like, that's honestly not true for everyone. Like if you take care of yourself and like you work on yourself, like you can perpetually becoming like transforming into a more beautiful, vibrant, but just different version of yourself. Yeah. And anyway, I think that also can be said about your relationship and your sex life.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay. Should we get to more listener questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. This is more about a dating question, but it says, can you say, it's a long question, so I'm just going to sum it up.
Okay.
When is it acceptable to ask about getting married? Like if this person is interested in ever getting married, like when can you bring that up?
This is so tricky. And I'm going to be honest, the current dating trends are not my forte.
Okay.
Right? Because I've been out of the dating game for 10 years. And what I would have said 10 years ago is just tell them, like, be assertive. I'm all about being assertive.
Yeah.
Just showing your cards.
Yeah.
Where are you at? Because the relationship will progress or it won't based on that information. And so someone deserves to have the information. But I know that in today's landscape, it can be a little sketchy. So you might have more advice than me on that topic, actually.
I agree with you. I feel like I'm on your same page about like bring it up as soon as possible. Once again, to your point about compression of time creates value. Like you don't want to waste your time with someone who isn't interested in that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think that within the first 3 dates, you should say, hey, I'm dating to find someone to marry.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that we're getting married. This isn't a proposal, but I just want you to know that that's my intention. And if the person like freezes or acts weird about it, that's a very good indicator that there's a problem.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
I think that doesn't necessarily mean you need to break up with this person and it's done. But I think it's an indicator that you either need to have more conversations about this.
Yeah.
And you need to like be honest with yourself about, this person is telling you is reflecting back to you like, well, who they are.
Yeah. And I have worked with a sad number of people who are in their late 30s, women want to have kids, and they're in these relationships where they're like, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And now I feel like if I cut my losses, I won't be able to have my dream, which is like my children.
Yeah.
But their partner wasn't ready for it. So it's, yes, be assertive and honest at the beginning.
I think that is why it's just so important as women. We step into our power and we, if you're in that position, there's always hope. You can have kids later in life. People are having kids in their 40s now. Like there's always a way. But I also think that like it is important to take ownership of your life and to ask questions so you don't get in that position if you can avoid it.
So this question is, I've been with my boyfriend for 10 years and sometimes wonder if he's the one. How normal is this?
When I heard this question, I was like, what is this person talking about? Are they saying they've been together and thought they were the one and now they're questioning it? Or if they've been together for 10 years and are finally like, oh, is this the one? How are you interpreting this question?
I interpret this as a person who, I don't know, I think it's a little hard because this person it's a boyfriend. It's not a husband or partner or whatever.
Yes.
But I think that there's this idea of like a one perfect soulmate. And if you're in an amazing relationship and you're like, but is it the one? Is he the one? And I think some people struggle with that, Yeah. And I think like for me, I don't know that I believe in soulmates. I don't believe that there's one person for everyone. But yeah, I guess I just interpret this as like, I think you can be plagued by this idea of like, did I find my one?
Yes. I mean, there's a song about it.
Yes.
We know Taylor's song.
We know Taylor's song, yeah.
I will say, like, my husband is my soulmate.
Yeah.
Not because he's the only person that could have been my soulmate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, because
Yes.
I'm choosing that every day. He's my person, and I do things to make sure that we stay that way. But I'm sure, as unromantic as this sounds, I could have been happy with 100 other people.
Yeah.
In different circumstances, right?
And so I love that. I just sorry to interject, but I just because like I've always said I don't believe in soulmates, but I love the way that you phrase that where it's like he is my soulmate because I chose him to be my soulmate.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even started an Instagram page once that I never did anything with called Create Your Soulmate. Because yes, I want people to know that you can have a soulmate, but it's not going to be someone who just finds you.
Yes.
I also think that women get into a habit where we all have the fantasy. We all have the Mr. Darcy in our head.
Yes.
And we are raised on these stories of the perfect man who's going to come into our life and sweep us off our feet, and it's going to be happily ever after. And then I think the problem with that as an adult is when you're in a real relationship that has its mundane months, maybe even years, and it's just not what you imagined, it can be easy to start conjuring in your mind like, well, what if the problem is he's not the one?
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think that Courtney, our older sister, said something so profound to me that I always think about. She said that she's seen so many people blow up their lives and get rid of a good relationship in search of a perfect relationship. And I just think that is something that is important to be self-aware about, you know? Like, don't chase the fantasy, because fantasies aren't real.
Yeah. They're not real.
I don't know a single person who has the perfect relationship.
Right.
Whose partner has literally everything A to Z.
Right.
In spades.
Except Tim and Faith.
Except Tim and Faith, Brock and Michelle, Rita and Tom.
And this
John
phrase,
and
I
Deb.
always remember: choose your love your choice.
Yeah.
So easy,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
just choose them and then love the choice that you made. and keep
Right.
doing it.
Completely. Yes.
Okay. I want to move on to another question that I think is very real, sensitive, and I think like we need an expert like yourself to speak to it. This question is how to address your spouse's weight gain.
This is such a good question. Okay, so my first tip is to think about what are the circumstances surrounding the weight gain? Because the thing that is bothering you might not actually be the weight. Maybe it's that your partner has not been motivated lately, and that quality is not attractive to you. Or maybe it's that there's some depression going on and that's been really hard. Or maybe there was pregnancy and you've just been disconnected for a while. And so I would really encourage people to think about, is there something else that the weight gain is just a symptom of, but really the underlying issue is something deeper that we can address? Because addressing the weight gain specifically is almost never going to be helpful and usually not fair. So that's where I would start. And then it's so hard.
But what if you married someone and they were relatively fit when you got married, and then they really did just kind of stop putting effort into their appearance, and they did gain a significant amount of weight, and your physical attraction has changed? Like, that happens to people. And I'm just like, what do you do in that situation? Because it's just hard, because it's like, the person has this partner who's not feeling good about themselves, most likely. They're dealing with a lack of physical attraction. And then they're also dealing with the shame of feeling the way they feel.
Yeah. And I do think it's really important to say, like, you're not a bad person or a bad partner if you are feeling unattracted because of weight gain. It's a reality, as taboo as it is to say that. And you can talk to your partner about it as long as you're not being controlling or mean.
Yeah.
You can say to your partner, hey, this has happened. I know this is so uncomfortable to talk about, but it's impacting me and you, and I want to have a conversation about it. I love you so much. I'm attracted to so many things about you.
Yeah.
But this one thing is getting kind of hard. Can we talk about it?
Yeah.
And it's so vulnerable, but you have to be able to talk about it.
And maybe
openly.
that's a time where you bring in a therapist. You know, that's when you have another third party to help you navigate an extremely tricky conversation.
Right.
Okay. Should we move on to another question?
I mean, but do you need to couch that in like, and I'm still so attracted to you? Or do you have to, like, can you kind of lie? Or do you have to like say like, this is like hampering my attraction to you?
Well, what kind of attraction are we talking about?
Like sexual attraction.
Sexual attraction. I would say, honestly, I would tell this couple, turn the lights off and be blindfolded, one of you.
Yeah.
And explore pleasure and touch and see if weight has anything to do with that. See what happens when you're really just focused on how your bodies feel together instead of some visual thing that you don't have control over, and just see what happens. It might not change anything, but you might find that like, oh, I can still experience pleasure with you. I can still feel attracted in this situation. It's not always going to happen, but at least try that and see what happens.
And I do think your earlier point is so true about like there's underlying things that really cause the lack of attraction. Whether like you're attracted to a partner who is motivated, disciplined, like those are the things that are really sexy where it's like, I got a good one, you know? Yeah. And so I think that addressing those deeper things really is key.
Yeah. Have either of you ever seen Crash Landing on You?
No.
It's a Korean drama on Netflix.
Oh, wait. I think I watched like the first episode.
Yes. Okay. A few years ago, it was huge. Anyway, this main character, this guy in the first episode, you're like, there's nothing great about the way he looks. By the last episode of the show, you think he is the most attractive man that you've ever seen just because of who he is and how he is. Yeah. And I think that's such a testament to like physical appearance isn't the only thing that we're attracted to.
Completely.
Yes.
And so we have to keep that in mind.
I also, and maybe it really just goes back to your first answer, and it's like addressing what is causing it, because that is the thing that's causing the lack of attraction. It's whatever that underlying problem is, and resolving that. You know who's the hardest person to shop for on the planet? Our mother, Deb. Every year for Mother's Day, she hits us with the classic, don't get me anything, which, let's be real, is not helpful. I still want to give her something that makes her feel special. This year, Quince has totally saved me. Quince has these beautiful cashmere sweaters starting at just $50, 14-karat gold jewelry, Italian leather bags, and even fragrances. It's all really thoughtful, really high quality, and somehow it's actually affordable. It's exactly the kind of thing Deb would never buy for herself, but absolutely deserves. So now I don't overthink it. I just go straight to Quince. Thoughtful, timeless, totally her. Shop Mother's Day at Quince. Go to quince.com/apologist for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/apologist to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/apologist. You know that moment when you think you're making a healthy food choice, then you flip the bag over and it's full of ingredients you can't even pronounce? Yeah, I got tired of that game real fast. That's why I started using Thrive Market. It's my favorite online grocery tool for getting high quality, healthy staples delivered straight to my door. No label decoding required. I use their filters to shop by what actually matters to me. High protein, low sugar, you name it. And the snacks, truly the best. You already know I'm a popcorn girly, so naturally I had to restock with the lesser evil Himalayan pink salt popcorn. It's elite. What I love most, Thrive bans over 1,000 sketchy ingredients so I can actually trust what I'm buying. And with their Buy It Again feature, reordering is so easy. Ready to make the switch? Go to thrivemarket.com/pop for 30% off your order, plus a free $60 gift. That's THRIVE market.com/pop. thrivemarket.com/pop.
What to do if you really, all caps, hate your husband's choice of growing out his hair long?
I think it's fine if you hate that.
Okay. Really? And to vocalize it.
And I think it's fine if you tell them that. Again, respectfully.
Yeah.
And then you have to just accept there are things your partner probably hates about you.
That's true.
Sean hates my style. Okay, I won't say hate, but like there was a time I had an outfit that I loved. He hid it so that I wouldn't be.
I kind of want to know what the outfit was now.
It was literally just a two-piece, like a jumpsuit or a matching set, top and bottom. Yeah. This blue. He thought it looked kind of like hospital scrubs.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh. I loved it. It was so comfortable. But he comes into the room one night and he's like, I have to confess something. When we were staying at his mom's house, he was like, I tried to hide it so you would leave it there before getting home. And I had found it in the other room and I was like, oh, Sean, this was in the other room. So weird. He's like, that's so weird.
Wait, like, I kind of love your husband for doing that. I know that's like the funniest thing ever.
Oh, I posted that on Instagram once people were so mad. They were like, how dare he?
Oh my God.
Like, get over it. It's fine. Well, I don't care. You shouldn't care.
Also, I think it's a double standard because it's like, I will literally I'll throw away a shirt of Ben's. I mean, yeah, not to say I have or haven't, but like, I just think it's such a double standard with men and women, you know?
Yes, totally.
Kagan, I had this romper from Faithful the brand that I wore like 5 years ago in this one summer, and I just wore it all the time. And he just finally was like, can you please just like never wear this romper again? Like he has like PTSD for this red floral romper.
Exactly. And with the hair thing, they will cut their hair eventually, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, probably the more comments you make about it, sometimes men are a little stubborn. Yeah. And he might think, well, I like my hair long, right? And keep it longer.
I mean, can you be sexually manipulative? Can you be like, I just like,
can you give us permission to be sexually manipulative?
Can you just like, I just really like to, you know, get Charlotte loves to fuck a short-haired man.
Honestly, if your relationship is safe, go for it, you know?
I mean, also, I'll just speak to my own experience. Ben has a beard. I prefer him with a beard. He has shaved his beard a few times, and it has caused both of us to have identity crises.
Yes.
And every time it's like, I love you so much. I love you so much. I prefer the beard.
Totally. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like this funny thing. And thankfully, like, you know, he's very confident, and it's actually funny to him how much I hate it. He likes to see me squirm.
Yes.
But it's just like, you know, I think it's okay to just have preferences.
It's fine.
It's fine. And of course, I think as a woman, you're like, you're not allowed to have any preferences about me. I'm perfect the way I am. Every shape, size, hair color, anything, any outfit. But it's just, it's okay. It's very normal. We're all human.
Yeah.
It's okay to have preferences.
And like for this person, do some self-reflection. Do you not like the long hair because you're embarrassed when you go out in public?
Yeah.
Like what is there something that's not the long hair that's actually making you squirmy?
Yeah.
And you need to work on yourself, because if he likes it and he's confident with it.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, this is an interesting one. How do you navigate changing financial dynamics? And what I'm guessing this means is, I'm guessing this isn't meaning that he's starting to make more money than her. It sounds like it's, because I feel like that's just a dynamic most people are used to in our culture.
Yeah.
It's the accepted one. The dynamic of like out earning your husband and like how that could shift things, right? I mean, Chan, do you agree?
Yeah, I think it can mean that, or it can mean like maybe you have less money than you did when you first were together. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. Lots of couples should take advantage of getting a financial planner. And I'm not going to give specific financial advice, but there's so many couples I've worked with where I'm like, you've never talked to anyone else about your money situation. Financial planners do this for free, right? Like they don't take a cut until you buy one of their products. And just going to a third party and having someone else ask you the questions about it can alleviate so much of the discomfort in talking about money. So take advantage of a free resource like that. And then the other thing is really think about the power dynamics. Like money and power go together.
Yeah.
And even if you think you're a very equitable relationship, there's going to be something weird going on if someone's really out earning the other person. And so just being aware of that and having honest, open conversations about it from the start will help a lot.
What do you think about the challenge, though, of a woman who starts really outpacing in earnings her husband? How do you think that, like, because I know that there are ego issues that men have. There's an emasculation feeling that can happen. I heard Aaron and Sarah Foster talk about this on their podcast about how, like, they have friends who are in this situation, how it's impacted their friends' sex lives. Like, I'm just curious if you have any insight into navigating that situation.
It's hard. And I think even when you have a really solid relationship, it can still be a tricky dynamic. But
maybe it's an opportunity for him to really work on himself and his own ideas about how things should go, you know?
Right. Well, and maybe a little bit of perspective and realizing this is a good problem.
Totally.
Like we are making more money and we are in this together. Like I think, you know, like seeing yourself as a team, you know, of course, you know, in society, like if your husband makes a lot of money, you feel great and you're the one, but it's like, why then if suddenly the genders are swapped, then it's like, oh my gosh, it's this crisis, you know? Just like have some fucking perspective. Like this is a good problem to have.
yeah, I love that approach.
Also, though, okay, but flipping it, what about when you're the woman and you don't make very much at all and your husband makes a lot of money? I imagine that would create some real insecurity and feeling vulnerable, right? Because like, I just feel like that would probably make you feel like, you know, he who makes the gold makes the rules on some level. That ends up being the truth. Yeah. And how do you still have like power in your relationship? Like if you don't, you know, meet your husband where he is financially.
If you're in that situation and you're married, and especially if you have kids, you need to have some sort of structure of like, this is not your money, this is our money.
Okay.
If there's that huge imbalance, because it makes no sense for one person in the relationship to have all the money if you've like committed your life together and then you get divorced and you're left with nothing. Like it just doesn't make sense. And so I really think couples need to have more of a team. You said teamwork, like a teammate mindset about this. People are really scared of combining money, but there was actually some research that came out recently. I don't remember exactly what it was, but said that like couples who combine some of their finances often report greater satisfaction because there's that level of teamwork and that trust and safety. So I would think about like, if you're so averse to combining your money after you've already committed your life together, why is that? How could you maybe think about doing that in a way that still protects both of you,
Right.
but allows you to be more on a level playing field?
I think that's the answer. It's like changing the way you discuss it and talk about it and like our money and coming into your power and saying, this is also my money. And we need to talk about it that way and think about it that way. And if your husband or your wife or whatever doesn't want to talk about it like that, then again, that's a good red flag to see.
And of course, it's hard if you are sitting at home doing absolutely nothing, contributing to society in no way, that it's going to be really hard for them to want to say that. But if you have like an equitable relationship in many other aspects, then get more comfortable calling it ours.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Kagan.
Well, and I'll just say like, Ben, my fiance, and I, like, we combined our finances when we moved in together after we were engaged. And it opened up a level of intimacy in our relationship that didn't exist before. And just a feeling of, we're in this together. We are a team. Our life is a shared road. And I was expecting it to be a lot more stressful. And of course, like I joke, like now I have a watchdog, like, that I live with, but it's created a new level of intimacy, that I think I can speak to that, I guess,
And again, I'm not a financial advisor, but like something you can do, and a lot of couples do, is you have your shared account. And then from that, you each get a certain amount a month that the other person doesn't get to look at. Like you get to spend that however you want. So you have that autonomy.
Totally.
It's the key thing I need.
Yeah.
The lack of transparency.
And currently every single dollar I spend is Ben can see because we use like YNAB. Every dollar has a job. But anyway, and that can create some tension. But anyway, I think moving on to another question, I think we should get into kids.
Okay.
Because some of these questions are sad, and some of these questions also, I think for me, like I'm very fearful about my relationship post children. I'm so excited to have kids, but I'm fucking terrified of how my relationship will change. So like, this question, what do you do when you have had consistent bad years? We had kids and everything changed.
Consistent bad years is so hard. It's so hard. And when this person says consistent bad years, like plural, you start to think maybe, you need to go to therapy. Right? When you think about the course of a marriage, though, it's actually pretty common to have a few bad years lumped together, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard not knowing everything that this person is going through. But I would say if it's been consistent bad years, but you're still like respecting each other and there's still a baseline of friendship, you can almost always get through it. If that has eroded, if you're not even friends anymore, you don't like each other and you're frankly mean to each other, then you definitely need help. And that might be a sign that things are going downhill.
Yeah. And I guess I realized my question was kind of like a million questions in one. Talk about how your relationship changes after kids. Is there any way, I know it, like, I don't want to know. Lauren and I are both so afraid of this. Like, help us be less afraid, or at least like give us, your guidance on what we can expect, I guess. I don't know. I know it's a huge question.
So research does show that couples experience a dip in marital satisfaction after having kids. To be expected, though. You're not sleeping, right? You're just busy. However, the increase in satisfaction in so many other areas. Like having kids, yes, it will impact your marriage, but you then have a family, and that's a whole different level of joy. Not saying it's more joyful than you and your partner going and doing things, but it's a different level of joy. And that can outweigh some of the negatives that you experience. Right. And so, yes, my husband and I don't get to go on dates as often as we did. But like when we have those moments where we're sitting together looking at these pictures of our kids being like, we made this little human, it's the most special moment. Right. It's so beautiful. And so you just have to go in knowing it will be hard. But again, if you're intentional every day, even with 5 minutes, looking at each other in the eyes, you can get through those hard years.
Right. And like to our earlier conversation about seeing your partner change, like you're going to get to see your partner in this completely new role of being, you know, you're going to get to see Kagan being a dad. I'm going to get to see Ben be a dad. And like, that's going to create new attraction.
Oh my gosh.
That I don't want to miss out on.
Yeah. I remember after my first was born, there was this moment my husband was standing in our bathroom in the mirror and he was looking at himself and he looks at me and he goes, I think I was made to be a dad.
Oh,
and it was like the most special moment, right? I'll never forget that moment because it was so true and so beautiful. And just like you said, you have a whole different level of attraction to those parts of them.
That's made me so teary. That's so lovely.
Yeah.
That's like,
I think that's so hopeful. And I think that if it's something where it's like the partner is not, I'm not the expert, but if it's something where the partner is really not picking up the slack and is leaving you to do everything and is really kind of like hanging you out to dry, then that's when I think like this is not just normal dip in marital satisfaction. This is where you need to maybe start making some contingency planning, seeing a therapist, figuring out what's really going on here.
Yeah. And couples are way better at doing that these days. Like people are having those conversations while they're engaged, while they're dating about mental load and dividing labor. And so I think people are way more prepared than they used to be.
Pop Apologist is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
this is a generalization, but I think it's true. Women are like planners. We're party planners. We're like career women. We're simultaneous like therapists for our friends. Like I feel like I'm doing 5 jobs at once. Yes. Meanwhile, like my lovely fiance is just like, you know, just like a dude, you know, he's great. But it's just, you know, there's just women just carry so much more of the mental load. And like, I feel like any way that you can try to, you know, externalize some of that and share that with your partner and say, hey, I would love it if you could think about what we're going to have for dinner for the next 3 nights.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, or you're going to think about, hey, so-and-so's birthday's coming up. Can you start thinking about a fucking gift for them?
Yes.
So I don't have to be dealing with that. I don't know, like things like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And people forget that like your kids will grow up and it'll just be you two again.
Yeah.
So it's not like kids are going to be in the way forever. And also I hate saying in the way, but they're not going to be taking away from your relationship forever. And so that's why it's especially important to keep doing those daily things so that when they leave, you still like each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Great
still
divorce.
connected.
I don't know if you've heard that term.
Yeah.
But that's on the rise. And it's because your kids leave and you're like, oh, who are you?
Right. Right. So how do you, I guess, then when you're in the thick of it, how do you stay close besides, you know, looking at each other and like, what do you think are the key practices while you have kids?
I feel like people have no excuse to not get a babysitter because if you can't afford it, find someone who will swap with you. There are other couples with kids who want to go on a date and just do a swap for free.
Yeah.
Like go on dates every single month. I think
once a month or like what's a good cadence?
so. I think every other week, but like one can be an at-home date and one can be a going out date.
Yeah.
Is what I would recommend. And then once a quarter, if it's possible, I know that's a stretch for a lot of couples, go on a 1-night getaway or a 2-night getaway.
Yeah.
Right. So make sure you still have those little moments because that, I mean, just is a game changer.
Yeah, that's what's sustaining.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Vacations are sustaining.
They are.
You heard it here first.
But you've seen Lauren's Instagram. They sustain her. I have another question going in kind of a different direction. Like when trust is broken, what can be done, you know, in a small way and then in a big way when maybe there's been infidelity? Like, I don't know, how do you rebuild?
Yeah.
Can you rebuild?
You can. And it's something you have to remember is it's not like you had 100% trust and then you had 0. You just didn't know that you had 0 before. And what I mean is like, you're never going to get back to 100% trust.
Yeah.
Because no one has 100% trust. That's intangible. You can't have that. And
like
so
no one, even if nothing bad has ever happened in your relationship, no one has it.
no one has it.
And you don't live in your partner's mind.
Right. And so you're not going to get back to that thing. It's not like magically you're going to be fine again. You just have to learn to live with some discomfort. And not being able to control things. And that's really scary. But if your partner, you can tell when someone is like repentant, right? If your partner has been really open and honest about the breach of trust, even if it's hard to build it back up again, you know that you're on the good path.
Yeah.
It's when they've breached your trust and then they kind of dismiss it or they say it's not a big deal or it happens 10 more times. Then it's like, okay, we're not really going to heal from this.
Yeah.
I also think it's like, how do they operate in business? How do they operate like within other areas of their life? Like, is integrity something that's important to them? or are they comfortable with lying? And like you can assess how they treat other people. Like, are they comfortable like cheating a restaurant out of something if they get it for free or something? Like, what is their commitment to having scruples?
So true.
My gosh. I just thought of a very funny story. But when we were during Christmas break, we went to Walmart and I was buying gifts for our like nieces and nephews. And I'd put some stuff in a box that I was buying. And then we checked out and the box, they hadn't checked out what was inside the box.
Okay.
And in my head, I'm like, whatever, Walmart's rich. Like they don't need the extra $20. And then I had this
Walton family.
I had this like 90 seconds of terror, not terror, but just of like, okay, well, I can't tell Ben that I fucking just stole from Walmart because he's going to make me go back. So then I'm like, we're walking out and I'm like, I don't think they saw what was the nail polish that was in the box. I'm like, do you think we need to go back? And he's like, we need to go back.
Oh my God.
And anyway, it was a moment where I was like, I had so much love for him in that moment because I was like, your instincts, I'm going to cry. Your instincts are good. Your instincts are honesty and your instincts are kind. And so sorry if that's an annoying story to share, but that's what it reminded me of, where it's like, you know your partner and what are their instincts? Have they made mistakes? Yes. Yeah. But where are their instincts?
Yeah. I love that. I had a really similar experience. I lived in Italy for a while and you would get on these buses that were so crowded.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we would hop on, couldn't even make it to the spot where you pay and then just hop off before the next one. And I told my husband that once and he was like, you didn't pay for your ticket? And I was like, you're a good person.
Yes.
Right.
It's like, it's a good moment, you know, it's like,
I remember I got a panicked phone call from our older sister, Ash, one time when I was in college. And she was like, just so you know, to some people, if you don't put the grocery cart back, like in the, like where it's supposed to go, like they will dump you immediately.
Had this happened to her?
No, but I think like maybe it did, or maybe she just like read something on Reddit about someone had that experience. Yeah. But yeah, there are like certain like things about like how you live your everyday life that people have very serious opinions about, and it like will reveal everything.
No, and so honestly, true. I'll reveal this about myself. I'm not always that person who puts the grocery cart back, but like
I'm happy when it doesn't hit another car.
Exactly. You know, when I'm just like, okay, I've kind of, but if you, hopefully you should seek out a partner that makes you rise to the occasion a little bit more.
Makes you be a better person.
Yeah, you're like, I want to put the grocery cart back because I want you to know that I'm a good person.
Exactly.
Right.
And coming back to this idea of recovering after a breach of trust, something people don't know is that it's in your nervous system. Like when you are betrayed, you have a nervous system response, fight, flight, freeze, whatever it is. And so anytime you bump up against that trigger again, you're going to have a similar response. And you have to do either therapy or like mindfulness work to work through those triggers.
Interesting.
So people, maybe if it's a sexual breach of trust, you will tense up anytime then you go to be intimate with your partner.
Yeah.
You have to just be aware of that and then do things like some deep breathing, etc., to help your body move through that. It doesn't mean every time you feel that sense of fright that something bad is happening again. You just have to do intentional work to move through that response.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, there's also just this element of like when you've had a betrayal. I had a big betrayal when I was like 20 with my first boyfriend. And the thing that was scary about it was an ongoing betrayal the whole time we were together that I found out about. And you stop being able to, like after that experience, I just didn't trust my own perceptions of other people. Yeah. You know, like you just are like, I don't know that I have the ability to discern if someone is being honest with me. And anyway, it's a very destabilizing experience. And so anyway, my heart goes out to anyone who's also been on that boat. But it kind of like those things will stay with you clearly. Yeah. So
thank you so much for sharing that. I think the scariest part of a betrayal is exactly what you just said, the second guessing yourself and the shame that you feel with that. Like, I thought I was supposed to know.
Right.
Right. And it's so scary.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on.
Thank you for, I don't know that you've ever like shared that on the podcast, and I don't know. It's just, thank you for being so vulnerable.
Oh, well, I actually think I brought it up quite a few times. Because I'm still not over it. No, but it's just funny. It's like, it gives you trust issues with perfectly wonderful people who don't deserve you to be like looking over their shoulder. And I think that's just a lesson for like everything you do in life matters.
Yes.
And like, if you betray someone, you're hurting their future partner.
Yes.
And anyway.
That's so true.
Can we talk about in-laws?
Oh, yeah.
How do you deal with difficult in-laws? I think everybody deals with in-law problems ranging from the big to small, or from small to big. But yeah, what's your go-to advice there? Like setting boundaries, getting your husband to enforce the boundaries.
You have to be on the same team.
Yeah.
You definitely have to be on the same team. And it depends on the stage of the relationship too. Like if you are just dating someone and your parents have something to say about it, this is what I recommend. That you sit down with them and you hear them out one time. You say, you've known me my whole life. I'm willing to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
This one time I'll take in the information, but the boundary is, now that I've heard it, I'm going to make my decision and please don't bring it up again.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do think you should, respect the people that have known you your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But set that boundary of like, I'm going to make my choice. And if you'd like to support this, great. If not, I already know what you think. When you are married, it's a lot trickier. You're like, my in-law doesn't like me. So I really recommend couples talk to each other about it and have the partner who is the child of the in-law who's upset or whatever be the main touch point. So like if, let's say my father-in-law didn't like me and he was being rude to me, I would have my husband have a conversation with him about how to treat me, because that shows that like me and my husband are a team and he's going to stand up for our relationship.
Yeah. He'll speak for you.
Right.
Yeah. In a protective way.
Yeah.
Right.
This is actually something Courtney also shared with me recently. It's like on them to facilitate that relationship and to protect you and to make sure that things are good there. And like, it's really their responsibility. It's not your responsibility to make sure that everything with your in-laws are always perfect.
Yeah.
And you have to be careful what you say too. Like you might have a mother-in-law call you and say like, oh, why doesn't, I'm just thinking of names. I'll just use Sean. Why doesn't Sean want to come to the family event? And if I throw him under the bus, if I'm like, oh, well, he's, just really anxious, that puts a wedge between me and him. I have to say like, we've decided together that he's not going to come this time.
Right.
Right. And it's tricky because if it ends up being that there is something wrong with your partner, like it's a hard line to figure out, when do I get closer to my family and start moving away from my partner? But that's a whole nother conversation about abuse and all this stuff.
Right.
What would you say to someone who, their in-laws maybe have different beliefs or, more conservative views of things, and you want to be respectful of that, but you also want to live your own life. And there's a little bit of tension that's created there because of it.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Like,
yes.
Is the tension when you're on their turf or your turf or both?
I think
or just in general?
In this theoretical situation, they're coming to you with their disapproval and their concern.
So they're
they're contacting you about it.
Okay.
Also, this also just might be too much, and we don't have to answer it.
It's a really good question. It's a really good question, because if it were like a turf thing, like they were making comments to you when they were coming to visit you, it'd be like, this is my life and I'm welcoming you in, and please don't make comments about this.
Right.
Versus if you're going to their turf and talking about
inappropriate things,
then like maybe be more respectful.
Yes.
But just if they are not approving of what you do in general and they're coming to you with that, I would say have an open conversation with them. Like, I don't know if these people are open to it, but it's so vulnerable. But say like, I really want to be in your life. I really want to enjoy my time with you. I love your son. Yeah. I love him so much. And I love the parents he came from, but I feel really misunderstood.
Yes. Yeah.
And can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Can we talk about maybe why this is so bothersome to you? And if I choose to keep doing this, is this going to impact us?
Final question, which I think is very apropos for our current environment. But what do you do if you and your partner have very differing political beliefs?
Love this question. I love it. When you zoom out, you probably share a lot of the same values, right? I feel like no matter who people voted for, when you zoom out, they want some sort of autonomy. They want protections for the people that they love, right? And so if this is your partner, figure out where you actually agree, even if you have different ways of getting there. That's step one.
Yeah.
Step two is like, limit the conversations that you have on this topic and decide together, what sources are we allowed to bring to these topics? Like, if my partner were very far right, I would say, if you want to have a conversation about this, we have to agree on some news sources that you're bringing me information from. And same, like I couldn't come in with a bunch of far left stuff. And so that you have productive conversations where you both feel like, okay, I can respectfully listen to what you're sharing, et cetera. And then limit those like 20 minutes or 30 minutes and don't let it take over.
Yeah. Find other like places where you can, connect and discuss and agree on things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so really though, it's about the values. Like if you have completely different values, that was a red flag you should have noticed at the beginning of your relationship.
Right. But if you don't, and maybe one partner has just changed their political views, because a lot of people have changed their political views in the past 10 years as things have evolved. I think that it's important to know there's an entire industry that works every day and makes a lot of money off making one side hate the other and the other side hate the other.
Yeah.
And if you can disengage from the doom scrolling, disengage from the fear mongering, your eyeballs and your energy is being sucked into a vortex and used to make other people rich, and like just disengage.
Yeah. Because honestly, you and your partner, unless you work in Washington, probably know crap about this stuff. Like you actually don't know anything. So why fight about it?
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So true.
This was so helpful.
This was like the most like touching and inspiring episode. You're a wealth of knowledge, and it was just so lovely to have you.
You're a
on
treasure,
here.
Aly. Please share where people can find you. I know they're going to want more.
Thank you so much. Okay, this was so fun. So you can find me at Relationships with Aly is my handle, and then also at Paired App is another handle where I put out content. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Amazing. I'm going to download the app right now, right after this, and make Ben do the same.
Amazing.
Yeah, same.
It's really, really cute. Actually, I know this isn't going to be on because it's not Valentine's Day when you publish, but we did a Valentine's vision pack, question pack, so you can discover what the expectations are for Valentine's Day before it happens.
Is there a cash number you can put in there?
I'm just kidding. You could enter that in.
Love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back on Friday. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.